People in Taiwan will go to the polls in presidential and parliamentary elections on Saturday. The results are expected to have major implications for the island's relationship with China. Under President Xi Jinping, China has vowed to bring Taiwan under its rule and hasn't ruled out the use of force to achieve this goal. Well, Taiwan has accused China of intimidating its citizens in an attempt to influence Saturday's elections. Well, our presenter Steve Lai is in Taipei. And Steve, just explain to us the importance of these elections.
Well, these elections are quite significant because they will, depending on who comes into power, will determine which direction that Taiwan leans when it comes to its relationship with China and with the US as well. We're just under an hour before campaigning ends here in Taiwan, and the elections will take place tomorrow morning starting at 8 a.m. I'm joined here by a guest to give us a bit more context and to get his sort of thoughts of how it might play out tomorrow. I'm joined by Ximin. He's a political scientist at National Taiwan University. Thank you for joining me. Firstly, how do you see this sort of election playing out, the winners and losers?
I still think Leicester will be the candidate the most likely to be elected president, because the reason is the opposition party is still divided and not united. So maybe Leicester will benefit from this.
And do you think that the DPP will be able to hold on to its majority in parliament as well?
No, it's very difficult, because maybe Leicester can just win maybe less more than 40% of voters. And it's difficult for DPP to win the majority of the parliament. So maybe in the future, if Leicester is elected president, maybe Leicester's government will be a minority government, just like the first DPP's government during the 2008, the year 2000 to 2008 of the government of Chen Shui-bian. But I don't think it will be a big problem, because just like Chen Shui-bian's government, we still can work for our government.
Now, this election is quite unique. It has the two biggest economies in the world, China and the US, paying very close attention to it. We recently had a statement from the People's Liberation Army where they said that they were ready to crush any Taiwanese independence plot. What's your reaction to that?
But China said this sentence for a long time. In my opinion, Taiwanese people used to hear this sentence, this threat. So I don't think it's an important factor for this election. Yeah.
So you don't see that China has the capacity, or you don't think it's a genuine threat that China could perhaps invade Taiwan?
Well, of course, China will do something about the result of the election. For example, if Leicester win the presidency, of course, maybe in the later, China will do some symbolic military or economic action. But in my opinion, it's just symbolic. It's not real. I don't think China will launch a real war for Taiwan. The reason is that I still think China do not have enough military force to take over Taiwan, especially if the United States will come to Taiwan to help Taiwan to defend ourselves.
So with all this rhetoric then, and with the election set to take place tomorrow, do you think it will have any bearing or any impact on Taiwanese voters?
Yeah, of course. Beijing always say tomorrow's election is a choice between war and peace. But in my opinion, tomorrow's election is a choice between the value of democracy and authoritarianism. So in my opinion, I don't think the majority of the Taiwanese people will be influenced by the Beijing's sentence, by Beijing language. Yeah.
All right, well, thank you very much for sharing your thoughts with me today. Ximin there, who's a political scientist at National Taiwan University. Their polls start tomorrow bright and early at 8 a.m. We'll have a complete coverage here from Taipei, from Taiwan, across the BBC News service. Thank you for joining us. Back to you, Mariam.